You're back in the world now, but something is different. This time, it's about choosing yourself. It's about stepping into what Carl Jung called individuation, the journey of becoming whole, authentic, and complete. And this path begins when you realize that silence can be stronger than 1,000 arguments. Withdrawal, when it stems from awareness and not from fear, is an act of power. So I ask you now, looking you straight in the eyes, how long will you let others control your emotions? How long will you allow every poke at your wounds to pull your strings? Maybe it's time to cut those strings. Maybe it's time to step back, to withdraw, to become a mystery. Because once you stop being constantly available, everything changes. Since childhood, you have been taught to always be present, to respond quickly, to say yes even when every cell in your body screamed no. You have been conditioned to think that your worth lies in how accessible you are to everyone else. But let's be honest, this availability is not kindness. It is a cage. And as long as you believe that you need to be emotionally available to everyone, you will be drained, manipulated, and discarded the moment you are no longer convenient. Do you know why? Because people predict what is predictable. They use what is accessible. They reach for you when they need attention, validation, or comfort. And when they are done, they put you back on the shelf. You cling to the hope that if you are present for everyone, someone will finally be present for you. But it does not work that way. Carl Jung spoke about the persona, the mask you wear to be accepted and loved. It is this mask that keeps you trapped in endless availability. You say you are fine when you are exhausted. You respond to every message immediately, even when your spirit is screaming for rest. You over-explain, you justify, you apologize for simply existing. You trade your peace for acceptance. Every time you center your life around others, you disappear a little from your own life. Being always available is a subtle form of self-abandonment. It is a hidden plea for validation, an attempt to control how others see you, but it costs you everything. Your peace, your energy, your center. People who want you available all the time do not want you. They want what you offer them: comfort, distraction, validation. When you change, when you start setting boundaries, when you refuse to react, they get irritated. They accuse you of changing. Not because you have become someone else, but because you have stopped being useful to them. And here is the harsh truth. The more available you are, the less you are valued. What is abundant becomes cheap. What is always accessible becomes invisible. No one truly values what they never have to earn. So I ask you, who truly deserves your time? Who deserves your attention, your energy, your presence? Or perhaps the better question is, who deserves your absence? Before you answer, understand this. Your need to be available, your need to please, your need to respond, it is not random. It is rooted deep inside you. Carl Jung called this psychic energy, the fuel that drives every thought, every emotion, every action. And every time you react without awareness, you are giving that energy away. Every time you rush to defend yourself against criticism that does not deserve your attention, every time you get caught in meaningless arguments, every time you try to win over someone who clearly does not respect you, you are spending your life force on what will never nourish you. Jung said, "What you resist persists." The more you fight to be accepted, the more trapped you become. The more you react, the more you are controlled. People who live emotionally exhausted are not weak. They are misdirected. They have spent years bleeding out their energy on things that never deserved it. And here's what happens when you live drained. You become vulnerable. You become easy prey for manipulative, opportunistic people who sense your weakness. They can see that you are always trying to prove yourself, always ready to react, always available for someone else's game. And they exploit that. Jung taught that a healthy psyche knows how to conserve energy. It knows when to speak and when to be silent. It knows how to say no without guilt. It knows that real power lies not in reaction, but in intentional action. How many times have you lost sleep over a conversation that should have ended hours ago? How many hours have you wasted replaying what you should have said? How many times have you allowed people to live rent-free in your mind long after they left your life? Every time you do, you feed ghosts. You fuel dynamics that only exist because you insist on keeping them alive. Psychic energy, when wasted, leaves you hollow. But when guarded, it becomes presence. You walk into a room and you are felt before you even speak. That is what energy mastery creates. But when you give your energy away freely, you become invisible. You become reactive, fragile, and the world is brutal with those who cannot protect themselves. Start paying attention to your own triggers. What makes you lose your center? What forces you into automatic reactions? Those are the leaks. That is where your energy is escaping. That is where the real work begins, not to become cold, but to become sovereign. Jung revealed something many refuse to see. When you conserve your energy, you destroy the projections others have placed upon you. And that terrifies people, because now you are no longer the role they assigned. You are no longer predictable. You are no longer a mirror for their needs. And this is where it gets dark. People will accuse you of changing. They will call you selfish, cold, distant. Not because you have done anything wrong, but because you stopped playing their game. You stopped being their emotional crutch. Manipulators do not need to shout or force. They only need you to keep reacting the way you always have. That is how the trap is maintained. But the moment you step out of the cycle, the moment you respond with silence instead of explanations, withdrawal instead of arguments, you shatter the dynamic. You force others to face themselves. And many are not ready for that. Your unavailability is a mirror. It reflects back the emptiness others are trying so hard to avoid. When you stop feeding them, they must either face their own noise or find another distraction. Silence is not weakness. It is revelation. Jung said, "We do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." When you stop responding, when you refuse to carry the emotional burdens of others, when you choose presence over reaction, you force the unconscious into the light. And that is uncomfortable. People will lash out. They will try to guilt you back into your old role. But hold the line. Protect your energy as if it were sacred, because it is. Are you willing to endure the discomfort of being misunderstood? Are you ready to be labeled selfish, cold, or distant, so that you can finally protect your center? Because that is where true power begins. Not in shouting, not in explaining, in silence. Master your silence, and you master yourself. The modern world worships noise. Everyone is desperate to be heard, desperate to respond, desperate to win meaningless battles, but true mastery begins when you realize you have nothing to prove. You owe no one your reactions. You owe no one your exhaustion. When you stop reacting, when you choose silence over chaos, you reclaim your life. And in that silence, you find yourself. And in finding yourself, you finally find freedom.